Marcus Theaters is paying tribute to the late Milwaukee Brewers icon Bob Uecker by bringing back the movie Major League to theaters.
You get a role as Cleveland Indians fictional announcer Harry Doyle. Action 2 News spoke with several people who attended one of today's showings, saying Uecker's voice in the movie definitely brings back some great memories.
I'm not a real big baseball fan, but I do remember Bob Uecker's voice when I've heard it on the radio or whatever, so a little bit of nostalgia, I think.
I enjoyed the role that he played, seeing him announce the fact that they shot it at County Stadium when County Stadium was still a thing where the Brewers used to play was cool.
Family memorial was held for Uecker earlier today, his family saying in a statement, quoting now, "The outpouring of love Bob experienced from so many during his life and the support we've received from extended family, friends, and the public since his passing has been nothing short of overwhelming. The many tributes in his honor and the messages of condolence have sustained us during this difficult time," end quote. They also pointed to causes that were very important to Bob Uecker, such as the Wounded Warrior Project and the ALS Association, saying people can make a donation to honor him. We have links to those at our website, WBAY.com.